Hi friends, so glad you're here for another Assemble This video. Today's card is all about creating a masculine vibe for the holidays with ombre stamping and fun grungy tags. And it all comes together for a really rustic holiday card full of warm wishes. So let's get started and assemble this card. I have a 4¼ by 5½ inch piece of pattern paper from the Country Lovin' paper pack. In my MISTI, which is a platform stamping tool, I'm going to be doing a lot of repeat stamping, so this is really helpful to get a nice solid impression of these solid stamps. The stamp set is called Woodland Layers, and I'm using the top and bottom images from this set to create my ombre background of like a tree line. I've placed my first stamp towards the top of my card, leaving a little bit of space at the top so there's a bit of sky. I used the grid lines on my MISTI to make sure that that stamp is nice and straight. And then I'm using Gina K ink today. This first color is in Craft, and I'm just inking up that stamp really well, stamping it once, and then I'll repeat as many times as it takes to get a nice solid impression. Gina K inks have a smoother in it, so it will kind of soak into the paper and smooth out on its own. So sometimes that it looks a little rough now, but as it settles in, it'll smooth itself out. Now I need to extend down that bottom edge of that tree line. I want to move my trees down my page and use 3 colors. So I'm using a blending brush to just blend on a section about the same width as the bottom of that stamp to extend it down, and that will blend into my next layer. Now I'm using a different tree line for my middle layer. I'm going to line that up so it overlaps that ink blend line at the bottom. Line that up again with the grid line on my MISTI to make sure it's nice and straight. And this time I'm using warm cocoa. And I'm just going to smush this on and make sure I get a nice even look to that stamp before I stamp it. And then again, I'll repeat stamp that. It took twice, and then extend that line down with some more ink blending. And then our final layer, I'm using that first stamp one more time and just kind of sliding it over so it looks a little bit different. And for my final color, I'm using Chocolate Truffle. This is an amalgam ink, so it does work a little bit differently, but it blends perfectly. And I'm not going to extend the ink blending now. I'm going to do it in a little bit because I have to fill in that whole area and I have a different technique for that. Next up are the Distress Ticket dies. I love these. They have a really cool grungy look. And I'm stamping the images from Biddy Forest. I'm using In the Navy ink for the trees and the stars, and then Wild Dandelion for the moon. And then I also die cut the 3 tickets from another piece of that Country Lovin' paper and just stamped a little pine tree in that top ticket. So let's do a bit of ink blending. I grabbed that dark chocolate ink again and I just rubbed it over the bottom of my panel, and then I'll smooth it out with a blending brush. Just makes filling in that big area quicker to do. And then I ink blended around the tickets with the lighter brown inks, and I'm just going to stamp a little bit of a little Christmas carol right over the top of that tag so it has some fun text. And then I'm adding some more ink blending around the larger ticket using all 3 colors, and that really makes that distressing pop. Next, I die cut some wood grain paper with a Wick Kit envelope die. Keep your eye out. I think this is going to come to the regular line of Unity, so keep an eye out for that. I just folded the sides in. You could take a little bit of time and use your score tool to create score lines if you want a perfect corners to your envelope. I like that rustic look, so I'm not worried about it. And then I just added some ink blending to the top of the inside of the envelope, and then added some more of that text from A Little Christmas Carol right on top. Ink blended on the front of the envelope, glued those bottom flaps together. And then to really make the edges pop, I just directly applied some of that dark chocolate ink to the edges to really give it a nice dark impression. Now that we have all our elements, let's go ahead and assemble our card. I'm going to glue this little envelope directly down onto my card front. I'm just using tape adhesive. You could use whatever your favorite adhesive is. I was going to do it straight, but I changed my mind. I don't know, I'm just in a wonky mood, I guess. So I tilted it just a slight little bit just to make a little bit more interest in the card front. And then I'm going to slide in my two tags right into that envelope. It's just super cute. And then I have the sentiment stamped and ink blended as well on a decal and stitches die. And I just popped that up underneath some string that I tied onto the front of that little envelope, and then finished it off with a few enamel dots. Here is the final look at our card. I love the warm rustic vibe with the grungy tags and ombre stamped background. It's just so fun how you can pull those little tags in and out of the little envelope. I love that the warm wishes sentiment could be for the holidays, but it could also be used for any occasion all year round. I also have a bonus card to share with you. This one was my first attempt, and while it turned out beautifully, I ended up covering that gorgeous ombre stamping with too many elements. I really wanted to include that simply stamped grungy tag, and that ended up covering up that beautiful ombre background. To recreate it, I would use the layout, but I would just do some simple ombre ink blending instead. If you're looking for more details on the supplies, head over to my blog, dahlhouse-designs.com, for a full list. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up, leave a sweet comment, or subscribe for more crafty inspiration. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope we get to craft together again soon. Bye!